What's up, everybody, and thanks for tuning in to another episode of Between the Cons.
Between the Cons.
My name is Chris, and with me today, Mr. Naughty List.
Ahoy.
Hello. Welcome to the show, Mr. Naughty List.
Hey, thanks for having me, man. You know, long-time listener, first-time host.
Not true.
That's
So not
at
true.
all.
So,
Very few people understand that reference. I'm sorry if you don't. And if you do, I'm still sorry, because Paul Feinbaum sucks.
So I have the sniffles, so I sound like I have grapes up my nose. And because of that, Cole is afraid of getting sick and decided not to record next to me. So he is recording remotely today.
A very safe fear.
Yeah, I mean it is that time of year for sickness to be aloof.
It is not the most wonderful time of year.
Christmas is over. Now it just sucks. Give me green grass now. So we've got a Topic Thunder episode for you. We're going to be talking about some nostalgia stuff. But before we do, thanks for tuning in. If you haven't already, leave us a review on the podcast app. That would be super swell for you to do that.
Very, very swell. It'd be neato.
It would be clutch.
It'd be Jiminy Crickets.
I can't say clutch in this context because I still use clutch on a regular basis.
All too often, yeah.
But yeah, thank you. Do that. Follow us on the internet. Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, at betweenthecons.com or at betweenthecons, and at betweenthecons.com. That's our website. Now, let's rewind. Talk about nostalgia things, and stick around for Topic Thunder.
Yeah, so I was having a conversation with a coworker the other day, and he was talking about his first computer that he ever made or built, not made. I guess those are two different things. And he was 9 or 10, and he talked about how he built his first computer, loved it, and then just kind of throughout the years kept doing that. And so he studied computer science in college and now is a dev alongside me. And I was just thinking, how many times, the things that we still do now or the things that we love now have their origins, not superheroes aren't the only ones with origin stories. We all have our own quote unquote origin stories. And so yeah. I was kind of thinking
I mean, we all have to come from somewhere.
Yeah. And it's not just when a man loves a woman kind of a thing. So I was just thinking, what are the origins of the things that I enjoy, right? Because
sure,
I'm a different kind of, I guess, nerd or geek than say Chris or the other Chris or the Wonder Twins,
right?
But that still has its roots in my childhood, and so I was just kind of thinking of what were the first nerdy things that I got into as a kid,
I feel that.
And so, I don't know. I just thought it'd be a cool thing to harken back to, if you will, to a simpler time.
Just take it back before rent, bills,
health insurance,
9 to 5
student loans,
9 to 5 jobs.
Long before student loans.
Yes. the glory days.
Yeah. So Chris, what was your first, your first, I don't know, nerdy memory, I guess you could say? What was the first thing that you really latched on to that was part of nerd or pop culture?
I think it would have had to be the NES. The OG Nintendo.
Not Super?
No, not Super.
You went
OG.
Original?
Yeah. Yeah,
that's how they should market that, by the way.
The OG Nintendo.
The OG.
But no, I think that was the first thing. I mean, we had one growing up. My mom Loved playing Tetris. We had like the track and field game, but I was like super into not those. Um, we had we didn't own Battletoads, but
Oh,
I had a
Battletoads.
friend that owned Battletoads. And that friend would bring over Battletoads and we would play. And I think Battletoads for NES was the first big game that I latched onto. I mean, Kirby's Adventures as well was a big one. I'm trying to think of some of the other ones. I would say those are probably the two biggest. Um, but yeah, I loved Battletoads. I mean, like any
Did you ever beat
I
Battletoads?
was about to say, like any normal human being, I never came close to beating it.
Yeah,
Um,
I don't know. I think I maybe have met one person who's beat Battletoads, and it's like it's their kind of crowning achievement. Like they brag about that, and when they say that to people who have played Battletoads, they're like, "You wait, you beat it? You're
no,
what?"
how? Yeah,
Gasp.
well, and that's the thing is like
Do you have a Game Shark?
Battletoads has right. Battletoads has a um reputation of being like one of the most difficult or like original NES games. Like I have not beaten Super Mario Brothers, but I've gotten close.
Yeah.
Um, I just by the time I'm at the end of it, it's just like, oh my gosh,
I'm so tired of this
I just
game.
I've been playing for so long, and like my fingers just don't do what my hands say anymore.
Yeah.
Or my fingers don't do what my hands say. My fingers don't do what my brain says. So it's like at that point in the game, I'm dying on like stupid stuff. Like I'm jumping way too early and running directly into a mushroom. Um, but yeah, I don't know. I think Battletoads for sure is like the first thing that I was just like that really got me excited, like super pumped, excited every time it came up. And then
Yeah.
like very shortly after that was the introduction of Marvel Comics into my life, and we all know how that went.
Yeah. We all know how that
Goes.
spiraled quickly.
How that goes still to this
Continues.
day.
Yeah.
Yeah. What about you? What was your first thing?
Uh, the first thing I really remember was we were a little late to the game. The first thing I had was a Super Nintendo. And so I was a big fan of the Super Mario Brothers slash Duck Hunt combo game.
Oh, nice. Yes.
Yeah, and I would cheat by putting the gun directly onto the TV screen.
Because they were
It was
glass back then and you could do that
yeah,
safely.
yeah.
Right.
And I remember my dad just being like, "Son, you can't do that. That's cheating." I was like, "Nah, it didn't say anywhere in the rules that you can't do that. I'm just, shortening the distance. This is
Right.
logical, father." Um, but I played a lot of that and Excite Bike. Excite Bike was my jam on the Super Nintendo. Did you ever play Excite Bike?
Oh my gosh. Yes. There was an Excite Bike for the NES.
Yeah,
Man.
probably very similar. But yeah, I
I
would build the
totally forgot about
tracks.
that game. Yeah, you could build
I
the
would
tracks.
do all the custom tracks. Yeah, I loved Excite
And if
Bike.
you made the slope too slanty, you
You couldn't get up.
you couldn't get up it.
Yeah, so you had to think about those things. It was my first my first foray into building things, I guess.
Yeah, right.
um, but yeah, that and this was like it. It wasn't until later that I really got more into like fantasy literature, like The Hobbit and Tolkien and Lewis and all those guys, which kind of are my mainstays these days. But along with the NES, I remember there's a skating rink in my hometown, Ballard's Skating Rink.
Oh man, in our
Um,
hometown.
yes, in our hometown. Yes, I was speaking more to the listeners than to
Right.
you. But they had some arcade games there, so they had Primal Instinct
Yes.
and Rampage
Rampage. They had
and
Area 51.
Yeah, they had
That's
Area
that's
51,
where
and then
that.
they had one of those like sit-in racing games, and I
Yeah,
was trash at it. Um,
I believe it was actually Cruising USA.
I don't think it was. It was like an. It
Was
was
it
like
not?
a. I think it eventually might have gotten upgraded to that, but it was like old school, like 8-bit or 16, like Super Nintendo style racing game.
Oh, not
And it was
great.
no, it was really hard too. But I played a lot of Rampage and Primal Instinct. I
They had
love those two
Contra there
games.
too,
Yeah,
and
yeah,
I
I
would
remember
play
that
the
one.
crap out of Contra.
But yeah, like my introduction to video games was like the all the side scrolls. Like my buddy had a Sega, so I played a lot of um, Sonic the Hedgehog and the X-Men video game.
Ugh.
The X-Men video game was awesome.
Ugh.
Um, and like I think Battle Tanks was one. That wasn't on the Super Nintendo. I think that was a little bit later on the 64. But yeah, like I had this long gap where I didn't play a lot of video games
And then you got a
from like
PS2.
no, like I played a lot of video games, got the PS2, and then from like high school ish, like middle of high school through like probably middle of college. So probably a 5 or 6 year gap around there.
We did
Didn't
play a
really
lot
play
of
much.
Guitar Hero freshman year of college, though.
True. And then I bought it and then we never played it again.
Pretty much,
uh
yeah.
yeah. But like I mean I played I didn't play a lot of the more story based games. I played Final Fantasy 7 and 8. Didn't beat either of them, but I played them. But I mostly played like either Call of Duty or eventually I picked up Halo or I played Gran Turismo. Like that was one of my favorite games, the racing
Right.
game, or NCAA, RIP NCAA.
Man, I loved Burnout.
Oh, Burnout was
Uh,
dope.
where the whole it was a racing game for people that suck at racing games.
Yeah, because the point wasn't the point of that one to crash.
To crash, to cause other cars to crash.
Yeah, it's just like you don't have to be good; you just
Oh,
can cause mayhem, and
it was so
such a
great.
good idea
It was
for a
so great.
game.
I wonder when the
Uh,
last one they made was. It's probably been
I don't
like
know.
5 or so years. Cuz there was one Burnout Paradise, I think, that I didn't play. Yeah, Burnout Paradise. It was the last one in 2008. Actually got
Nice.
really good scores. Um Burnout, the first Burnout came out in 2001, and then I had Burnout Revenge and Burnout 3 Takedown. But those I didn't play Paradise. I don't know if there were any other ones off the top of
Yeah,
my head, but I am looking through this.
yeah. Well, did you? I don't guess you did any PC games, did you?
I played the original Hitman on PC.
Okay.
Um,
I played like the kind of the built-in games, right?
I played
Like
like the educational
the
games.
Maze one and Pipe Dream
Oh, I
and
played Myst. I played Myst
what
on
was the one?
PC.
What was it called? Max or something like that, where you had to find the microchips,
Oh, I have no idea.
and then Oregon Trail and Amazon Trail. But like, I don't know. It's funny. Like, I know a lot of people who are hardcore like PC gamers. But I
Uh-huh.
think it's because when they were younger, they were like, they didn't get a console; they had a PC. Whereas,
Right.
like I had a PC but never played on it, but I had a console, and so
Right.
for the most part, I've always been more of a console gamer. Only like a year ago did I start playing a PC game, and it's just I have the one, and I like play it on my Mac laptop with my
Right.
tiny little screen. So I don't even know if I technically qualify as like a PC gamer.
Yeah,
Um,
I played a lot of educational games.
yep,
I'm trying to
dude, you
find.
had backyard baseball, didn't you?
Oh my
I
gosh.
distinctly remember playing
Oh
backyard
my gosh,
baseball.
backyard baseball was the bomb. Backyard baseball, for those of you that don't know, it was
It still might be the single greatest sports game ever.
oh my gosh, hands down. But it was like neighborhood kids
It's like The
that
Sandlot.
1997 was the first
No
release.
way.
Wait, the latest release is 2015.
They
I'm gonna have
still
to
got
look that
Backyard?
up.
Uh-oh.
But it
That's
was
dangerous.
you got to name your own team, and then you got like it showed like the bench, like the benches, and it had all these neighborhood kids, and each of them had like different abilities. Like there was one kid named Pablo, I remember specifically.
No, weren't they all MLB guys?
They were
I thought they
probably
were all MLB players just as kids.
not all of them, because I mean there were a bunch of girls too.
Yeah, that's true.
But there were some that were like named after.
But yeah, Pablo was like the little kid that was like super fast,
He was
right?
crazy fast.
I remember that, like he could turn a single into a double like every at bat.
Yeah. Oh yeah. But you picked a kid off the bench and you like built your team.
It was like schoolyard style. You went back and forth between.
Yeah. And you had, I think you picked 9 people and you like build your team, and it was super fun. I mean, that was 97. So like we probably got that game when it came out. So we would have been like 8 and 9 years old. 8 or 9 years old.
Yeah.
Oh man. That was such a good game.
That's why I like thinking back on all this stuff, because I'm like, freaking Backyard Baseball. And then I'm like, I was also super obsessed with Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles.
Oh yeah.
You know, back the first time around that it was cool.
Oh yeah.
With the live action movies.
The Secret of the Ooze.
I owned the first one on VHS and watched that at least once or twice a week.
until
Especially
the
during the
tape
summer.
ripped.
Yeah. Like I could quote most of the movie.
Oh yeah, for sure. Those movies definitely were high up on the repeat list in our household. Also like Angels in the Outfield, Rookie of the Year.
Oh yeah.
Like those classic 90s flicks. Oh man, now I'm just thinking about Backyard Baseball. I just can't get off this. I'm trying to find out what came out in 2015.
All right, well, thanks for joining us today, guys. We're gonna go. We're gonna cut the podcast short and go play some really old video games.
Some really old, terrible looking.
Oh, I'm sure games. It looks like. I remember back in the day, it was probably like, oh man, this looks so good.
Oh, so they released it as a mobile app called Backyard Sports. Oh, and they look so much more real. I really like that the kids all looked ridiculous.
They were like cartoony and.
Yeah, they were super cartoony. No. Oh well. I'm not gonna play that one.
No.
I'm gonna find a way to play the 1997 release on my not 1997 computer.
I'm sure there's an emulator out
somewhere.
Somewhere.
Oh, for sure. Man, that game was awesome. But yeah, I think like when it came to movies, there were those handful, like Power Rangers for sure.
Oh, so good. Ivan Ooze.
Yeah, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. I was actually really big into Felix the Cat as a kid.
I remember that.
Yeah, I loved Felix the Cat.
That was so weird.
The Felix the Cat movie was excellent. I actually had a Felix the Cat computer game.
I remember that.
I don't remember what it was called, but I'm sitting at a computer, so I'm gonna look it up. But I was really big into Felix the Cat, really big into Alice in Wonderland. Still really big into both of those, just not so much actively Felix anymore. Rocketeer. That was a big one. Still a big one. I love the Rocketeer. Um,
Why do you think some things have stuck and some things haven't?
I don't know. Like Felix the Cat.
Just like a phase kind of thing, you know?
Well, like here's the thing. Like if the Felix the Cat movie came on right now, I would watch it in its entirety and quote
Yeah.
it because I love it. I think it's and like the Rocketeer, like I still like I just bought the High Flying Adventures hardback trade and I because I still love it. I mean,
Hmm.
I have a Cliff Secord action figure on my wall or on my wall. Whoa, on my shelf. Um, and to be honest, now that I'm thinking about it, that actually probably my love for Rocketeer as a child probably has to do a lot with my history minor because I was so fascinated with World War II that I wanted to take a bunch of history classes to get a history minor in college.
Yeah.
Um, but I don't know why some of them haven't stuck. Like a good example of ones that haven't stuck are like um some of the short run TV shows, not short run, but shorter run TV shows from like the 90s. Um that like I never really cared once I was older, like Bucky O'Hare.
Yeah.
I love Bucky O'Hare. Uh but if they came out with like a new Bucky O'Hare show, I don't know if I would watch it.
Yeah.
Um
Like I don't know if I would watch what was the one with the sharks?
Street Sharks?
Street
I
Sharks.
would totally watch Street Sharks.
I might watch Street Sharks. It depends. I would have to I might give it one episode
You
with a
have
very
5
like
minutes of my time. Go.
yeah, yes. Intrigue me.
Right? Um
Yeah, yeah. I think I was the same way with a lot of TV shows like that.
yeah, I think it was
Although,
just like I just got older and just like there were better better things that were available that weren't outdated and I think it has a lot to do with like and I've talked about it on the show before but especially people our age specifically we thrive on nostalgia because of how much change we experienced in such a short amount of time in our youth.
yeah,
So I mean like you and I are 30 years old. Rounding numbers. We're 30.
yeah,
We are talking about shows that came out 12 years ago, 15 years ago,
yeah,
or maybe like 15, 20 years ago. Like the movies that came out in the late 90s, TV shows that came out in the late 90s. Sure, they like we were kids, but like it's a very interesting case study for nostalgia in the 80s baby.
yeah,
Um but yeah, I think it's because there was different stuff around. I mean, by the time we were graduating college, there was Facebook. Or
yeah,
graduating high school, there was
yeah. I was
Facebook.
like, I got Facebook when I was sophomore. Yeah, I think I was a sophomore
Yeah.
when it
Like
was available to non-college students.
yeah, like
For those of
15
you
or
who don't know,
16.
Facebook initially was you could only get a Facebook account if you had a college email address.
Yeah, a .edu email address.
Yeah, and had to get verified. Man, if only they had to be to verify stuff these days.
Man, that would be
That'd be
great.
awesome.
And the first couple years of
Back in
college,
my day, Facebook was just for college students.
yeah, the first couple days or not days, the first couple years of college, Facebook was just for like as far as the way I used it, it was just for like getting contact information for people like that I went to college with
Yep,
and like staying in touch with
yep.
them.
Parents weren't on it, post like commenting on photos from 2 years before and telling
Right.
everybody about their political ideas. You know, middle schoolers weren't on it, being awkward middle schoolers. but also like way too in touch with pop culture in a sense that
Right.
it wasn't healthy.
Right. But like I think it's because we had stuff like that. Like I mean before Facebook, MySpace was awesome.
MySpace was dope.
Yeah, and
So
like
much pressure in like picking your top 6 or your
your
top
top
8,
8.
and then also having the right song.
Oh man.
So
And then
good.
you had those people that would like HTML code their way into having a top 16.
Yeah,
Ugh,
like you guys are wizards.
wizards. Um and now we know that that's just like basic HTML.
Yeah.
But no, I think it was that. I think it was like I got into college. Steven started driving and we started going to shows.
Yeah.
And we had MySpace and we started keeping in contact with people. Girls became interesting where
Yeah, that was a
before
weird time.
before that we had cootie shots and stuff to keep us free
Yeah.
of the women folk.
Yeah, you were more concerned about, backyard baseball or
Right. And then I think the reason that the things stuck around that did is how heavily invested I was in them before
yeah,
and how easily that translated into
what you were currently doing.
I almost said a life after puberty. Um but really I think that's what it comes down to. It comes down to um like when did girls stop having cooties? I think that is the shift that was like that got rid of Street Sharks, that got rid of Bucky O'Hare, that got rid of like Battletoads even.
Yeah.
I mean, I wish Battletoads was still around because I think that would be a super dope game now. But I still play video games. I still read comic books. I still watch stupid television shows.
Yeah.
But like
I feel like
because
some
I've
things
found
just
someone who
resonate.
appreciates that.
Yeah. I think some things resonate more deeply. And it's also stuff that you can share, like it becomes more of like a relational thing. Like I didn't play a ton of video games, but anytime a new Gears of War came out,
Right. We would play
you could
it.
be sure that you and I were going to spend a weekend beating it, even if I hadn't played a video game in a year,
Right.
you know?
It would
Or
just be
like, I
that
think certain,
first couple levels where I'm giving you crap for how many more kills I have.
yeah, and then finally I get the hang of it again, and you're still getting more kills than me, but that's because I have a life.
But at least you're in double
Uh,
digits.
yeah. But I think also some things like just resonate deeper. Like, kind of like you said, like I've always read a lot of books, but it was like really a love of like Tolkien and reading literature as a younger, like probably I think I probably read The Hobbit when I was in
Oh my
fourth or fifth
gosh.
grade,
Yeah.
and then read Lord of the Rings maybe like eighth or ninth. I was reading literature that young and realizing that like, you know, these books are not just entertaining, but like they can start to shape how I view the world and stuff. And that's ultimately what led me eventually to be an English major. Like I spent a lot of money on school because I liked books as a kid, you know,
Right. Yeah.
but like that resonated really deeply with me. And I think the things that, like the types of games that I play now and that kind of stuff, like all in some sort of way, like hit on preferences that I have. I've always enjoyed playing sports games, or I've always enjoyed playing, like shoot 'em up games. Not that I have a preference for shooting people. That's not really how that was supposed to come off. But
I
like,
love shooting
you're on a
people.
team with other people and you have an objective, right? Like
Right.
I always ended up playing more team oriented games
Sure.
because
Camaraderie.
that's yeah, I like sharing responsibility. I like working with a team, like that kind of stuff. And so like I don't know, I think that's probably the reason why some of those things resonated more deeply with me, and other things like, you know, didn't stick. Kind of like you
Yeah.
said, like it was good for a time and a place, and then eventually it was just like I either grew out of it or I found something that clicked better,
That
and it
makes
got
sense.
replaced with something that I resonated more deeply with or I enjoyed more.
Yeah.
You know, But some things will never go away, like Mario Kart. Like,
Oh my gosh, Mario
regardless of the
Kart will never
console,
go away.
just got it for the Switch. Like, regardless, I say regardless of the console, regardless of the Nintendo based console or
Right.
arcade game, like, I will always love Mario Kart. Like, if it's still around when I have kids, you know, or when I have grandkids, assuming that ever happens, like, I will play Mario Kart and beat them, because that's how you learn humility, and that's how you learn that you're not the best at everything, but you can be good at some things. I was
Yeah.
the best at Wario Stadium. I rarely lost in Wario Stadium. I lost on so many times on Toad's Turnpike and the stupid Boo Castle,
Yep.
and there
Rainbow
were so
Road.
many ones that I wasn't good at, and I just knew, like, I'm probably gonna lose this race. But if we play Wario Stadium, I'm gonna probably come in first by a fair amount.
I'ma beat you. And speaking of Mario Kart, they are. I think I just read they're bringing back Mario Kart 64.
What?
Or no, they're bringing back some of the maps from Mario Kart 64 on the mobile game because they're releasing it on mobile. Mario
Oh
Kart.
yeah.
But I remember my first experience with Mario Kart. I actually had a lock-in. I went to a lock-in with our friend Matt, Matt Wesson. We went to a lock-in at his church, and they had an N64 hooked up, and I'd never played Mario Kart before, because we went
You went the Sony
Nintendo,
route?
huh?
You went the Sony route?
Well, we went Nintendo, and then our next console in the house was a PlayStation.
Yeah, the Sony route. That's what I did.
Oh, I thought you said Stony route. I was like, I don't know what that
No.
means, so I'm just gonna say no.
No, the Sony PlayStation.
PlayStation, yeah, but we
Yeah.
didn't have another console from the NES until the PlayStation, before it was called the PlayStation 1.
Yeah. The OG
And
PlayStation when it was
yeah,
huge.
the big gray rectangle. Um,
And the top popped open.
yeah, but we did at that lock-in. I had never played it before. I played it one time, and I was just like, I'm not going to sleep. And that was an option that was available to me because it was a lock-in. And
Of
I
course.
literally sat up all night, mostly playing with other people, but at least 2 hours playing by myself, playing Mario Kart 64. And like to this day, I won a competition at New Orleans Comic Con or Wizard World New Orleans for Mario Kart 64. I have competed multiple times in competitions for Mario Kart 64. I still own my 64 and Mario Kart for when I'm feeling it. And there's not really any map that I'm bad at. That being said, that's the last Mario Kart game that I ever played consistently, because that was the last Nintendo console that I bought. So like
Yeah.
any of the other ones, I've like the new one on Switch, you have like a hang glider attached to your cart, which
Dude, it's so cool.
like I don't like that doesn't even process for me because I don't know, like that's not how it was in 64, so I don't get it. What do you need that for? Like that's not an
It's when
OG
you go airborne.
that's not an OG thing. Get it out of my face.
Don't be so curmudgeonly, Chris.
I will I will curmudgeon as much as I want. Um but yeah, I think you said it really well when it comes down to like replacing it with something that resonated deeper. I think that's what it's been. So I don't think that any fandom necessarily is inherently permanent because of that. That
Yeah.
being said, there are some that are like, man, comic books for me, perfect example. When I was dating in college, I was told by many people, like, she's gonna make you get rid of those comic books, and it's like,
The hell she
no,
will.
she won't, because she'll get rid of me before she gets rid of the comic books. And like that was the thing, is like that is so deeply ingrained in me that like it is more important to me to have these things that I love than to have someone that doesn't appreciate them.
Yeah.
Because that, I mean, when it all boils down, that's what you want, is you want these things and you want to be able to share them with others.
Yeah, someone who can come alongside you with it.
Right. And in that particular situation, it wasn't like, you don't want to share this thing that I want, like, you don't care about this thing that I want to share with you. That's disrespectful. Get out of my face.
Disrespect.
But yeah, well, I think I think that's good. A good topic, Thunder. I want to know from our people, from our listeners, what was your first nerd experience? Like your first fandom, the first thing that you remember enveloping you. Like, what is your Battletoads?
Yeah.
Tell us. Hit us
What
up.
is your Super Nintendo? Yeah.
Yeah, hit us up. Facebook, Twitter. You can hit us up on Instagram. It's not necessarily a great tool for back and forth conversationism, but you can if that's your platform of choice.
You can slide into the DMs.
Yeah, slide into those DMs. But we're going to talk about some jams that are current jams, not nostalgia jams. So stick around. We'll be right back.
What's your jam?
All right, Cole. What's your jam is?
Man, that's like a tough question. My
Is it Mario Kart on the Switch?
Yeah. No, I mean, I haven't got to play it that much, but
Is that because your wife stole the Switch?
Yeah, she's been playing the heck out of some Zelda, which is just really attractive, to be perfectly honest.
And you can't manage to pry it from her.
Yeah.
From her fingers.
Just came home the other day and she's like, I need to play Zelda for like an hour and a half.
Yes, please.
Like, that's an oddly specific time, but okay, whatever. But yeah, I guess you could say that, like, at least my nerdy jam right now is the Switch. Even though I haven't got to play it that much, the thing that my life has been pretty simple lately. Has consisted mostly of work, sleep, and working out, and so which makes me sound like a really healthy person. It's really in an attempt to undo the holidays. But I honestly, you could probably say the Switch, especially like having just watched my wife play a lot of Zelda, and just being amazed at how well thought out that game is, and how beautiful it is, and just seeing some of the story already. I'm just like, this is really cool. I can't wait until she's gone on a trip or something, and I can binge on it for several hours and at least kind of catch up to where she is. Chris, what's your jam?
I want to play. Hold on. I want to play Zelda Breath of the Wild.
So much fun.
I have not. I have played it for a hot minute, and that is it. But I really want to dig into it more. Now,
is Riley good?
My jam is kind of the same jam it's been for the last 20 years of my life. I've been like really burying myself in comics lately.
More so than usual.
Yeah, definitely more so than usual. And from a collection standpoint, not necessarily from a reading standpoint. So I sent off a bunch of comics a few weeks ago to get graded. I just got the last one back. I sent off 7 in early November. Just got the last one back. That was at a higher grading tier, so it took a little bit longer. So that's really cool. I now have 7 graded comics, which is really neat. I love that. I feel like I'm officially a collector now.
I mean, by definition, you are.
Right, but I feel like it's official now. because
Yeah.
I have something with the CGC seal on it.
You have something in a case.
Right, but I also I found a couple websites that are really great for collecting comics. Um, been going to estate sales, checking out some comic selections at estate sales. As long as they're reasonably priced and people aren't ignorant. I will say that my biggest thing with collecting comics is people overvaluing comics because they don't understand how the value is determined.
It's old, therefore
So,
it's valuable.
well, no,
No.
there's an app called Let Go. Um, it's basically a Craigslist style app. You post an ad for something you want to sell, and then people message you about it and buy it from you. But like, I'll get on there every once in a while and just look through and see if there's anything good at a decent price, and there's not. And like, there was one, it made me so mad. It was I don't remember the exact issue, but it was an issue of The Incredible Hulk. It was like mid-late 70s. It was not super valuable. It was like they had it on the post for $75 for that single issue. So I looked on the internet at comicbookrealm.com, my comics shop, a couple sites that I go out and check pricing when I'm looking at stuff. And those had like 9.8 CGC encapsulated graded comics for like $100, which is 9.8 is like, it just came off the press. It still looks brand new. There's no blemish, like top quality comic book. And like, this person is like, oh, well, that one's worth 100 and it's got that fancy little case on it. I'm going to make mine worth 75. And it looks like I balled it up and put it in my pocket. Like, terrible condition. But like, that kind of mentality is all over the internet for comic book collecting, and it's infuriating. And that's just a little rant that I've been keeping to myself. But like,
clearly you don't care much about it.
No, clearly. But it drives me crazy. It does. It drives me absolutely bonkers, because it's like, you're hoping that somebody's going to pay that. And the problem is that somebody paid it. Like, somebody has probably put that money down at this point, which, if you're collecting for the sake of building revenue, you are making barely margin, like barely any margin at all. If you're buying a collector's book for that expensive, having it graded and then turning around and only selling it for a little bit more, it's bad. It's bad. But that's just one thing that I've seen, and it's everywhere. It's on eBay. It's even on Comic Book Realm, which is it's a comic book collection database site that also has pricing. It runs rampant on that site. It runs rampant on Let Go, on Craigslist, everything. It's a epidemic for sure. And I am angry. But no, that's my jam. Is just I've just been collecting comics a bunch lately. Sorry, I vented a little. Please forgive me.
Always forgiven.
Thank you. But that's it for the show. Thanks to everyone for tuning in. Tune in next time. We're going to be back on Thursday, and we're going to be talking about some news. So tune in. Hit us up on the internet. We're at Between the Cons on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Go to our website, betweenthecons.com. You can link out to our social media. You can stream our episodes. You can find Afixa, who makes our Segway jams. And you can learn a bunch of other stuff about the show and about what we do here and how you can help us do it. But you guys have a great week. We will be back in a couple days, and we will talk to you then.
Adios.
It's a test.
and you have failed.